a Texas white sheet cake. This is one of my favorite desserts to make because I can usually have everything that I need for it on hand, and I don't have to wait for butter to soften, which is always a problem when I make cakes. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so we start with a cup of melted butter.
How'd you melt the butter?
In the microwave. Put it for a minute, and then I watch it real carefully.
Easier than in a pan on the stove.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's your cup of butter. A cup of plain water, room temperature.
And all ingredients be at room temperature?
All of the ingredients are at room temperature, yes. Okay, then we use 2 cups of sugar. And a half of a cup of sour cream, which has also been sitting, it's at room temperature.
You gonna start your mixing until you get everything in there?
Nope, not until I get all this stuff in there.
Okay.
I know. So, start with those 4 ingredients. And we're going to turn the mixer on and just get it incorporated.
Okay. Pretty deep bowl.
It is a big bowl. All right. Now that that's done, we're going to add our 2 eggs, which have been sitting here so they are at room temperature. And then I have a teaspoon of vanilla.
Real vanilla.
Real vanilla. And a teaspoon of almond extract.
Okay.
I like the flavor that it gives. Now you can make this cake without the almonds. If you have, I have a friend who's allergic to nuts, so I've made this cake for her without adding almond extract in, and without adding, I'll sprinkle some on the top when I'm done, and I do that without it for her because she doesn't have anything. Right. You don't want to throw it, right? Generally, that's not the plan we want to do. Okay. Then we're going to add our 2 cups of flour. And a teaspoon of baking soda. And a half a teaspoon of salt.
Baking soda, not baking powder.
Correct.
Okay.
And then while I'm doing this and making sure it gets all incorporated, you want to grease this pan. All we're going to do is take this vegetable shortening right here and grease it. We make a Texas sheet cake on a jelly roll pan. So.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to wash my hands.
Okay. So the batter is mixed, the pan is greased. What we're going to do is give it one last stir just to get all those pieces at the bottom in case.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah,
I wish somebody had given me
mixer
that
doesn't
tip.
go all the way to the bottom. And then we're going to pour it, spread it evenly in this pan. The other nice thing about the Texas sheet cake is it only takes about 20 minutes to bake.
That's good.
And you ice it while it is still hot. And the icing kind of melts into the cake. So it's one of those, it's fast, it's easy, and it's not something that you have to plan for days because you generally have everything you need right in-house.
Okay.
This is one of those, we have a church potluck to go to, and I forgot. Quick and easy to put together. And then we're going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. So, at my mother-in-law's house, we have fancy cake testers. At my house, we have toothpicks that you insert, and make sure that it comes out clean. And then, now that it's baked, we're going to make the icing. As I said earlier, you can make this immediately after, you can ice it immediately after it comes out of the oven. So we're going to take a cup of butter, once again, melted in the microwave. A 1/3 cup of milk. A half a teaspoon of almond extract. And a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And as I said earlier, if you want to do this without the almonds, if you just add a little bit extra vanilla, you'd be just fine.
And just put it all in there.
Put it all in there and Mix it until it's smooth. You know, when you have liquids and powder mixed together, you want to start slow. Otherwise it makes that big explosion. We don't want to do that.
Mama likes cleaning up the kitchen.
And I hate cleaning, as you know. Which is why I married your son, because he loves it.
He is good at cleaning. He's not good at cooking.
Alright. Now we need an offset spatula. And now that our icing is smooth, we are going to once again stir the bottom just in case.
Yeah. Looks like I did pretty well. Mm-hmm.
Even without sifting the flour.
Even without sifting the flour.
I mean the powdered sugar. So we just spread the icing on.
You always make that look so smooth.
That's practice. When the first cake that I made that I was really excited about and I went and bought all the fancy tools to make was for your birthday. Do you remember the one with the flowers and the butterflies?
It was delicious. That's what I remember.
It was delicious. But it took me hours. Mark was like, "What are you doing in there for so long?" I said, "I'm trying to get the icing all smooth." He said, "My mother does not care what it looks like. She cares what it tastes like." What does it taste like?
Well, he knows his mother.
I said, "But I want it to look pretty."
Well, that's good. That's fine. But if it looks pretty, it tastes bad.
That's exactly what he said. It looks pretty, but it doesn't taste good. What do you care?
What's the point?
So now I discovered that people who make desserts that don't look pretty call them artisan. Then they can look however they want. It's an artisan cake. Okay. So icing on all the edges, every corner and every piece. The last thing to do is take some slivered almonds and just sprinkle them on. That way, there are two reasons why you do the almonds. One, it looks pretty, and we always like things that look pretty. But it also lets people, especially if you're taking it to a church function, like we normally do with this, know that there are nuts in it. So if there's somebody that's allergic to nuts, you don't surprise them by having almond extract on the inside that they didn't know was on the outside. And there we are. We're gonna let this cool for about 20 minutes, and then we're gonna eat. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.